Welcome to 5 Good Questions. I'm your host, Jake Taylor. Our guest today is Maureen Monte. Maureen is a leadership and team consultant with over 10 years' experience in building winning teams. She has a bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering and a master's in leadership. Her clients include Kellogg, SalesForce, Huntington National Bank, and La-Z-Boy. Today we're going to be discussing her book, Destination Unstoppable: The Journey of No Teammate Left Behind. Let's ask Maureen 5 good questions. Welcome back to the show, everybody. My guest today is Maureen Monte, author of Destination Unstoppable. Hey, Maureen, thanks for taking the time to be with us today.
Oh my goodness, Jacob. Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. Question number 1, how did an elite hockey school, or high school hockey team, I should say, become the narrative of your story about strengths and getting people into the right seats on the bus, so to speak?
Gosh, and how hard is that, by the way? So easy to say, right? People
Yeah.
on the right seat on the right bus. Just do it, people. Get the right person on the right seat on the right bus. That is not an easy thing to do. So I think, first of all, I had been building winning teams for about 12 years now, using the same process, which is focused, and I would say all journeys begin with the Clifton Strength Finder. But my sole reason for existence is my reason for living, my reason that I'm here is to help individuals and teams harness their talent so that individuals and teams reach their full potential, right? So I don't care if you're a nonprofit. I don't care if you're the head of a local hospital. I don't care if you're in charge of a food quality program. I don't care if you're a high school hockey team. If you're interested in helping your team and your individuals on your team reach their full potential, I'm interested in working with you. So back in January of 2015, I received a phone call. Would I help the Cranbrook hockey team? And Cranbrook is a local school, and it is elite. It's one of the top private schools in the country. But I knew nothing about them from that standpoint. I walked around the grounds. It's like 600 acres. It's absolutely beautiful. There's an art museum there. There's a science museum there. There's these beautiful gardens. Then there's, it's a school and all these other things. So it's really quite a treasure in the community. And so first of all, I love sports. I played sports growing up. And I've been interested to take my process and put it into a sports team. So I'm instantly intrigued. But my first question was, what's the problem with the team? And so that's not a bad question to ask. Actually, my belief is that all teams struggle, right? So I just want to know why this team is struggling. So I said, yes, I want to help. So let me talk to the coach and see what the coach thinks the problem is. Because if the coach is the problem, that's a different problem to solve than if you have a team that's struggling, right?
Right.
So I got on the phone with Coach Weidenbach, and I wanted to say, are you the problem? But I didn't. I said, Coach, what do you think the problem is with this team? And he goes, well, first of all, I'm the maestro. If the orchestra doesn't play the music, it's the maestro's fault. And I'm like, yes,
that's a
we
good
have
sign,
a leader.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great sign? Imagine if every manager in America, around the world, said, if my team doesn't play well together, I'm to blame, right? And right up the chain. So first of all, I was thrilled with that. And so I'm instantly all in. I'm in. And I said, so what is it then? And he said, well, we've got people that don't respect the captains. It's dysfunctional. They're extremely talented. They should have won the state championship last year. I've done everything I can to make this team play well together, have that high team chemistry. And I can't, it's just not working. They're fragmented. And so I launched into, probably overwhelmed him with my excitement over how I thought this program would help, because in the corporate world, how many teams are chock full of talent, and the whole team chemistry thing, the fact that they don't get along with one another, they don't value one another, is the problem. So after I described how I operate, we define success, we measure the talent on the team, and then we align it. And 2 days later, I was in the boys' locker room, and we built a definition of team success and analyzed their strengths. And they went from extremely dysfunctional but talented to state champions in 6 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's a good segue for question number 2 is, why are sports teams in particular maybe such an apt environment for a strengths-based type of work?
That's a great question. And this is why I love sports. I love to watch sports if it's quality sports, because the leader of the team, whether it's the manager, whether it's the owner of the team, they actually understand that Their role is to put each player in a situation or a position where their strengths are leveraged and their weaknesses are mitigated. Sports does that. Music industry does that. You don't take Mick Jagger and say, Mick, go play the drums, right? I mean, Mick is the best front man. Practice being a front man. Be awesome in that role. Don't worry about playing the drums. So music does it, and orchestras do it well, and hence Coach's analogy about being the maestro, by the way, right? And I think the military does it well. They look at what people's natural gifts are. They find a place where those gifts will be valued, and they value them, by the way, and then they unleash them to go be their rock star selves. So I think also startups are pretty good at this. There's a hunger about startups, and there's an understanding that if you're a smart business owner, you understand that having people not like you around you is a success strategy. So you're good at your role. There's people around you that then fill roles that they're good at. And we don't try to put people the old round peg in a square hole or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I've wondered before too if it has to do with the fact that sports has it's usually a defined environment. Like there's only so many different things that you can do. So it's much easier to kind of identify like, oh, well, if you're 300 pounds and run a 7-second 40-yard dash, you're probably better suited as a lineman or versus a wide receiver. So just the fact that it is a kind of a defined environment allows you to identify easier who should be kind of in what role.
It's a great point because it's physical in nature as well, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't put Shaquille O'Neal on the back of a thoroughbred in the Kentucky Derby. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it just makes no sense whether those men who ride those horses weigh about 50 pounds. So, but here's the point of that, though. You're absolutely correct. But I would argue that a software engineering team also can be that specific if they're willing to go down to that level. It's harder in a company because it's this big conglomerate, right? We think, oh my God, how are we ever going to figure this out? Well, you start at the work group level, the very lowest work group level, and you do the same thing. So when I work with teams, what does success look like in your role? Before someone comes to my workshop, each individual has to answer that question. And then we define what does success look like for this team. And then we align all that talent with the definition of success.
Yeah. So question number 3, what's the secret to good team chemistry and maybe even outside of just the sports world where it might be just as applicable?
Yeah, no, it is. It's too bad we don't talk about team chemistry in the business world as much as we do in the sports world. And that's simply, it's because it's valued more in the sports world than it is in the business world. In the business world, there still tends to be an emphasis on execution. Just get the work done. Okay, shut up and do your work. And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying that can be part of the environment, particularly in larger corporations, right? And you're lucky to have a job. And so I think at the root of it of team chemistry is that people feel valued for being valuable. They understand how great they are as individuals, and they understand they move away from self-awareness to others' awareness. And this is where the Strength Finder can be so helpful, is now I know that you can't help but think about the future. I can't help but think about the past. And together, what a great team we make, actually, rather than me being frustrated with why you won't let me review what happened and you being frustrated on all I do is talk about what happened in the past, right? So there's this kind of others awareness that comes from great team chemistry combined with a common view of success. You must have a common view of success for that team. In most teams, if you were to ask the leader of the team, the manager of the team, and or the individuals themselves, what does success look like for this team? You get a variety of answers, right? That's okay. But we need one answer that everyone can buy into at some level, right? So that's always a part of my journey. And Destination Unstoppable, I document it. It's a team success story. It's encapsulated in a 6-week time period with the Cranbrook hockey team, but it's totally relatable to business. And I go out of my way, having had all that experience in business prior, to say this is how that happens in business. This is why you should care. This is what you can do about it when you don't have good team chemistry, right?
Yeah. So question number 4, what's an abundance mindset and why is it so important to cultivate it?
So I explained to Coach that I start from a position of abundance, right? So there's a couple of reasons. Think about a change management, a change initiative in a large company. And someone will say, we're going to do this, right? And you all need to be on board. Okay. Yes, we do. But imagine the difference in the buy-in from the employees. If the manager said, we're going to invest in understanding what's right about you and how you think to solve problems, how you execute tasks, how you build relationships, and how you influence others, then we're going to use what we learned from you to help us reach this new goal we have, right? And so it's starting from what's right about them. And so let's even take a step back though. Have you ever worked in a corporation?
I have.
Okay. So you've had a performance review.
I have.
Aren't those fun?
Well, it felt very obligatory, but it wasn't. We didn't cover a whole lot.
You don't cover a whole lot, and that what you covered, was it on what you do great and understanding of your strengths and what that brings to your role, or was it about what you need to improve your gaps?
Yeah, it was probably more the latter than the former.
So here's what I believe. I believe that we, each of us as individuals and as a team, must have two strategies. A performance strategy founded in what you're great at, and that would be an abundance strategy, and a survival strategy focused on what you're not great at. I don't believe we ignore your weaknesses. I believe we have a survival strategy that we spend 25 or 20% on of our fixing our weaknesses, okay? And an 80% time period of energy and money and all the other resources you have investing in your performance strategy. So here's how it would work. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, so for the next 3 weeks, you're going to do everything left-handed, because actually I think lefties are better performers than righties. And so you're going to get, over 3 weeks, you'll get better at writing left-handed, you'll get better at picking things up throwing left-handed, but you'll never be as naturally gifted as a lefty, right? Having a lefty strategy for you is a survival strategy, not a performance strategy. I say to you, everything you're going to do, here's the 10 things you must do. I don't care if you use your right hand or your left hand, get it done. And you do it using your own natural strengths, right? So we have a tendency to prescript with the very best of intentions. Our whole universe, our teachers, our parents, our managers are focused on what's wrong about us in an attempt to get the very best out of us. And that is a failed strategy. Your fully exploited strengths will be of far greater value to you, to your children, to your spouse, to your community, to your workplace than your marginally improved weaknesses.
That brings up a good question. Do you think there are some strengths that we have our society has a bias toward?
I do. And so one of the fun things about being a Gallup certified strength coach is I have insight, and then I do my own research, because now I've worked with hundreds of teams, and I collect all this data on a team level and on an industry level. And I can tell you that if you are a female with strengths like competition, significance, which means what I do must matter. I think Oprah Winfrey has significance. Steve Jobs had significance. They don't care if you like them. They want to make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Restorative, this bulldozer strength of just removing roadblocks. If you have those, first of all, they're not as common in the general population, and you happen to be female, you will be discriminated against because you're misunderstood and you have a lot of intensity. So there's two sides of that. You, as the human being and the owner of your strengths, must manage them well so that they are productive. It is not acceptable to be an unpleasant person in the workplace just because you have a lot of horsepower, right? On the other hand, if society were a little more accepting of the people who are different and saying, you're different, I'm going to leverage you, not you're different, I'm going to fix you, then I think we'd have a much greater, more happier workforce, happier people, more engagement, higher performing, people reaching their full potential. Right. So yes, the other side about that is I'm an engineer, right? So I have thinking strengths that are not common in women. And that has been a source of discomfort for people that I've worked with, right? So I am outside the box. I have ideation. There is no box. I'm going to be on some other planet that I think we can go to. And there are people that find that uncomfortable. They will find that less offensive, for lack of a better term, in men, because more men have those talents. Right. So it's just important that we understand ourselves, communicate our value proposition from a strength standpoint, and then help others around us make good use of the tools that we have.
So question number 5, what's a trust bank, especially in a team context?
Yeah. So, it's funny. I always bring up a trust bank every time I work with a team. And my expertise, frankly, with the Strength Finder is in teams. I find the team complexity fascinating, right? I like working one-on-one with people, but how you take a piece of a puzzle and then make the whole puzzle work well together, that's a bigger challenge, and I enjoy that very much. So I always have teams define success, and then I ask them if they're willing, as part of this journey that we're going on of understanding the strengths of others around us and being our full selves and reaching our full potential, are you willing to invest in a team trust bank? And that means from this moment forward, right now, through the end of this project, 3 months, 1 year, 5 years, I don't care. Are you willing to commit to only making deposits in the trust bank? A trust bank is just like any other bank account. At the end of the day, if there are more withdrawals than deposits, you're in trouble. So a team that does not make deposits in the trust bank, which are in terms of encouragement, helping people feel valued for being valuable, and it's not kumbaya. This can be very not nice per se, but just simply honoring the natural abilities that somebody has, not holding a grudge because someone was successful and you weren't at that moment, right? There's a lot of those kinds of emotions that happen in the workplace and in the locker room as well, and on the ice. So teams asking them to make that commitment. And we define what those behaviors look like so that everybody's clear on that. Because young people in particular haven't had the same kind of experience to what trust looks like in the workplace. They haven't read Stephen Covey's Speed of Trust or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, teams that do not trust one another will fail. They will fall apart faster than teams that don't. And if you think about the fact that the world runs on teams, imagine if we did everything we could to help individuals and teams reach their full potential, what that would impact our communities, our schools, our families, right? So that's my perspective on a trust bank. There have been a few that it didn't work, right? In fact, there was one team that was so dysfunctional is the right word, I think, that when I said, what does success look like? I got dead silence. This was 14 women, which I'm sorry to say, that makes it harder. There are women in the workplace can be more unpleasant to one another than men in the workplace, okay? And this one woman finally raised her hand and said, I would like it if someone would say hello to me in the hallway.
Small ask,
yeah. I'm like, you guys don't say hello to one another in the hallway? And there was this dead silence again, and I'm like, well, my Lord, right? I mean, so we had to work on them more often. So in other words, I had to come in a few more times, but we got there in the end. But we didn't get there with the trust bank the first time. We got there over a series of smaller steps, and that's okay, right? But if you won't commit to that sort of engagement with a team, then that's a leadership problem. Right. Yeah. This is where leaders need to understand that that's a cultural problem. That's a team culture problem. They have to fix that from the top. That can't be fixed any other way.
Yeah.
Right.
So bonus question that we always ask, and this is for a book recommendation. What do you have for us today? So I have my book I've been handed out like hotcakes. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, it's upside down. That would help. is Legend. And it's about the most successful, if I were to ask you, what is the most successful sports franchise in the history of mankind? It is the All Blacks out of New Zealand. And it's a rugby team, and they wear all black. Yeah. And they have, now James Kerr has studied how the concepts of building this unbelievable franchise, way better than the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the whatever, right? Yeah, New England Patriots. Those are good too. Yeah, but this is really amazing, right? And so he has studied how they built their culture. And so it's not so much about the sports side of it, but what we can learn from that about life and business, right? So I've been using that a lot. In fact, I met with the Cranbrook hockey team. The playoffs have started. Okay, so this is the third year in a row I've worked with a team, and I love these kids. They're just absolutely fabulous. They have amazing strengths, and so we worked on self-leadership this weekend, and I brought up the All Blacks because better people make better All Blacks. That's one of them, hire for character, right? And the other, champions do extra. What are you willing to what shoulder? What are you willing to take on? And it can be human in nature, right? I'm investing in the human system of success. And so I use that a lot and have been handing it out to clients and executives and things like that. So. Wow, that sounds great. Well, Maureen, we really appreciate you coming on the show today, and it was a real pleasure.
Oh, my goodness. I can't thank you enough. I've really enjoyed your other guests. And there is one person in particular I bought his book and also the book that he recommended, The Man on the Running, The Alexander Technique.
Oh, yeah, Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm
Bach, yeah.
Balk? Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to say his last name. I've just really enjoyed it, and you do a great job, and this is a wonderful service to mankind. So thank you for your efforts.
Oh, well, thank you, Maureen. That means a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this interview. If you'd like to support this author and purchase their book, click here. If you'd like to become a subscriber to 5GQ, click here. And I included a couple other interviews that you might appreciate right here. Thanks. Happy reading.